So, my other review for tonight, and therefore for you guys tomorrow, is this thing. The T-54 first prototype. This thing is awesome. It is like having a T-54, which you can see from the hull armor. Let's compare these. It's like having a T-54 at Tier 8. So, in comparison, this one's a little heavier, little less engine power, slower top speed. So it's got the T-44 kind of movement characteristics about it. But it does have the T-54's hull armor, which a lot of you know is very trollish. It also has a fantastic amount of turret armor for a Tier 8 vehicle. I mean, let's go look at my IS-6 just to compare this. My IS-6 does not have as good angles on the initial sides of my turret, and has less armor on the front than this thing does. So armor-wise, this thing's pretty well armored. View range is 360, which is the same as the T-44. Turret traverse is a little slower than the T-54. Rate of fire is a little slower. But other than that, I mean, it's like having a premium T-44 with some drastically upgraded characteristics. Now, the gun is disappointing. You're going to have to fight Tier 10s with this. I'm not kidding. You're going to fight Tier 10 tanks with this thing. Sorry. 175 pen isn't really going to cut it. You're going to have to pack APCR, which is another sad point. It does do 250 damage, which is better than the T-44's and better than the T-54's initial gun before you can get to your upgrades. 2.6 aiming time is horrendously bad for a medium tank, and the dispersion, don't expect to snipe with this thing. Don't expect to snipe with it at all. This is a hardcore brawling machine. Use it like a medium brawler. Period. Now, good news. The armor will stop Tier 7s. Tier 7 mediums, period, end of story, will not hurt you unless they get beside you. So auto-aiming this thing's kind of difficult, and a lot of light tanks are going to have some trouble hurting you from the front. That's the good news. The bad news with the gun is this. Your total ammo capacity is 34. At 7.1 rounds per minute as the default fire rate, with the crew I have in here, which you can see has brothers in arms, the rammer and the vent and everything, that brings my rate of fire up to 8 rounds a minute. I am only combat effective for 4 minutes. After that, I'm out of bullets. So there's your flaws and some of your advantages. The model on this thing looks fantastic. I mean, I can count the vent grate holes. That's pretty fucking good. This thing does have the external fuel tanks like the T-44 on the side and rear. You're really going to want to keep this front plate facing the enemy. These, as it turns out, are not actually part of the tank. They're ammunition racks which can just absorb shells, which I found to be quite awesome, to get hit with a heat shell in one of these things and go, LOL! Pen no damage. That was quite enjoyable. Overall, this thing is like playing a heavier, better armored T-44, which for some of us who like the T-44, props to you. I didn't particularly like the vehicle because in Tier 9 and 10 matches it felt really underpowered for even a Tier 8, much less the fact that it had to fight 9s and 10s. And in Tier 8 matches I felt like I was doing okay, but I wasn't doing fantastic with it simply because it kind of had that mishmash between the T-43 and the T-34-85 speed and maneuverability and circling ability, and the T-54's armor and brawling ability, and it's still in between that with this model. So there is your great and wonderful vehicle with a grain of salt. Let's go take a look at how it does in some actual matches, shall we? So, what we have here is the T-54 first prototype. Now, I'm going to say this. This is an up-armored T-44. That's it. That's all it is. It has its defects, one of which is the shell count, which you can see 34 shells. I can fully see running out of ammunition. It does have a quicker fire rate than the T-44's 100mm. That's one advantage. The second advantage is it has a little more armor on the turret and a little bit better angling on the front of the hull. But other than that, it's a sluggish medium. It takes a second to get up to speed. It doesn't like going over soft terrain. It doesn't like going, as you can see right now, my top speed is supposed to be 40 something. I'm hovering between 35 and 40. I cannot get this thing up to top speed on this soft terrain. I need to get on something harder, and now I'm on something harder, and you can see my speed is now fluctuating in the 40s. This tank is just... I did not have a good time with the T-44. I really wanted to, and I just... You had to play it so heavily like a flanker, particularly in Tier 10 matches, and this thing is reminding me of it a lot. It does not have the T-54's armor, that's for sure. And it most certainly doesn't have the T-54's mobility. So it's not another Type 59 that with Russian colors on it. It is in fact a T-44 premium, which I gotta give you credit. We need a Soviet premium tank, and my APCR shell just said no. However, now I'm loading high explosive, and this guy still isn't paying attention. Right into the crew compartment. Yeah, the average damage is 240, so my high explosive is doing 3 something to this guy. I angle the tank as best I can. He's pointing right at my front plate, right through it. Well, he got the track, so I'm assuming he got my side. But also, it sets on fire from the front, just like all the other Russian mediums. Lock target, high explosive for the win. And now, loading AP. Last thing I saw go that way was a Bulldog and I didn't find their arty, so I'm wondering where it is. There's a Bulldog. This thing, however, is excellent to fight light tanks. As you can see, the Bulldog can't hurt my front. And he's gone. Their arty's AFK. I'm going to take advantage. Who wouldn't? I mean, but yeah, the average damage is 240. It's... I could totally, in a Tier 9 or I'm not sure if it gets Tier 10 or not. I haven't seen any Tier 10 fights. That may be because of lack of people on the test server, or it may actually be dun 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 preferred matchmaking. Thought we were getting rid of this wargaming. Well, anyway, you're about to see my hilarious thing. Russian accuracy. Accurate when it wants to be, not when you want it to be. This T-3485 knows what's going on around him though. KV-4 got set on fire. He's now moving forward, and I got my APCR loaded because I know 175 pen won't exactly hurt him on the side. Thankfully, the APCR, this is the good news for those who had the T-44, is not 217 pen. It's 240. Gotcha. Now, I should have been paying attention to where the IS-6 was. I paid for it. T-3485 has some trouble with the initial shot pinning me, but yeah, right through the front plate, no question. Like I said, sometimes it bounces, sometimes it doesn't. It's an up-armored T-44. What are you going to do? And while the rest of this match plays out, so my impression of this tank is this. We need a Soviet medium, because we have 3 Soviet medium Tier 10s. I'm telling our IS-6 to push, by the way. He should have pushed in there with me, and then we would have actually won this match. But he doesn't move. I think he's a bot. Anyway, the tank has some mobility to it, but it's really slow to get up to speed. Sometimes it feels really, really sluggish, particularly on non-hard terrain. It doesn't have a hell of a lot of agility, but I mean it's what you should expect from all of the Soviet medium premium tanks so far. The Matilda 4 and the 3485M are both the same way. Takes a bit to get up to speed. Matilda doesn't go very fast anyway, and they don't exactly have a hell of a lot of maneuverability. This tank's the same way. It's not the T-54 like you would want it. I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to give that to us because of what happened with the Type 59 when it first came out. But anyway, so that's my overall impression. If you really, really need a crew trainer, I would consider getting the Matilda 4, or I would wait until they put the 3485M back on sale and get something a little cheaper. If you loved the T-54 and it is your dream boat, get the tank, because you're basically going to be having a premium version of it. So, if you like what you see, and then please hit the like button. If you want to see more, then hit subscribe. If you want to help the channel grow, share this on Facebook and Twitter. I appreciate all comments and feedback, no matter what they are, so that I know what I need to do to improve and what your opinions of my videos are, because they actually matter. And generally, that's about it. There's some instructions on the channel, on the video right now, that'll tell you how to do certain things, or encourage you to do the same thing I just did. But in the meantime, this is Fiaura the Tank Girl signing out.